So I've been meaning to make this video for quite a while now because I've had quite a lot of people asking me about it, but the problem is I still don't have a working clutch in Forza Horizon 5. So we're going to show you an example. If I switch this back to manual with clutch, we'll save it. So I'll even reset it now just to sort of make sure no one's going to get upset in the comments. We'll hit that, press the clutch all the way in. It has actually responded to it there. Save it. Yeah, cool. We'll go all the way back. I'll put this into gear. Foot is all the way on the clutch. If I rev it up, the car still goes. That shouldn't be happening. So I'm glad I paid a premium price for a game that can't even provide the most basic feature. But to the actual wheel settings themselves, this setup is more of just like a good hybrid setup. It's not really specifically made for anything like just racing or just rally or just drifting. It's sort of a good balance. For what I've found anyway, it's a good balance for just to be able to do all of them. Whereas if you are a die-hard drifter or a die-hard rally driver, these ones might not necessarily be for you. But just for the average driver, this could be a good base to sort of start with. I always turn my vibration off because it just sort of feels like I'm driving with like no engine mounts. So that's always the first thing I do. I turn the vibration off or turn it all the way down. Then all of this stuff, obviously you want the steering to be as direct as you can, so that once you start steering it, it does actually turn. Steering linearity, you just keep that in the middle. All of this stuff is just sort of the same situation as the steering. You sort of want it to respond the moment you sort of start to put your foot onto it. The stuff that starts to get a little bit more complicated is sort of from here down. So vibration scale, like I said at the top, I turn my vibration all the way off. It feels terrible to drive with. Force feedback, I run that on full. This is probably going to be so the only one that you change between what actual wheel you're running. So with the stock Logitech G920 wheel, because you have a smaller diameter, it has more force on your hands. Whereas because I have more leverage on the motors here, for me to get the same force feedback feel, I need to crank it right up. So 1.5 on this wheel might feel the same as say like 1.1 on the standard Logitech G920 wheel. The next two, so center spring scale and wheel damper scale, these sort of go hand in hand with having a good balance between being able to do racing stuff and drifting. So I found that having the wheel damper scale, it sort of slows down the movement of that wheel a lot, so you can't really throw it around as much. And then the center spring scale, it'll let you throw sort of to the center, but then once you go past that center point, it'll want to try and bring it back to the middle again. So that's why I've sort of got that down a little bit as well. So that way it can sort of spin past that center point. So it makes it a little bit easier for counter steering. Then the mechanical trail, it pretty much says in the description, the larger this value, the less prominent the loss of traction will be in understeer. I sort of want the car to feel, like I want to be able to feel that understeer. So I've got it down just that little bit. Force feedback, minimum force, I've got that bumped up a little bit more so that sort of that minimum threshold is that bit higher, just because I do have that more leverage on the wheel. Sort of the same story with the load sensitivity as well. Then our feedback settings, I've got these bumped up a little bit more just so I get a little bit more feel from those front wheels. But then sort of to counter that or sort of contradict that, I've got the road feel and off-road feel scale. So these two up here were more about the wheel direction, or the wheels wanting to sort of either come back or the slip on those front wheels. These two seem to be a lot more on sort of like the oscillations in the wheels. I don't know if that's the word or not, but sort of like the up-down movement of the wheels. Same with the vibration, sort of gave a really weird feeling. So I had to drop them down quite a fair bit. I didn't want to take them all the way down because then it just sort of felt too arcadey. So I wanted to give a little bit of feel still. Now the steering rotation, some people might get triggered about it, especially the die-hard sim racers. They'll be like, oh, why don't you run 900? 660 I find is sort of that good balance of, again, sort of being able to use it for just racing and also a bit of drifting as well. And you're sort of not having to throw like a full 900 degrees to sort of like catch a drift. And it means that particularly, because I like to do a lot of rallying stuff, rally cars have a very sort of quick response steering rack. So I want to be able to sort of hit that close to full lock like this instead of having to like let that wheel run around.